As we slowly move into a post-COVID world, the new normal seems to be a 1984 hellscape. Governments of the world continue to implement harsher and harsher rules and regulations on public movement. Some people have now begun to stand against overbearing leaders and are protesting what they see as an ever more authoritarian group persecuting the masses. Restrictions in movement, trade and freedom of speech are being pushed under the guise of public safety. The use of new tracking software installed on our smartphones has many worried that our movements will be logged and monitored, and that this can and will be used against us. This led me to uncover an old conspiracy. A conspiracy that says we have been tracked since the 70s. Who has been tracking us, and how did they do it in a pre-digital age? Well, that's the strange thing. Hitchcock could have been right. The thing for us to fear is the birds. Let's take a look. Welcome to IF, videos on history, mystery and the strange. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a video again. This long-held conspiracy claims that the birds aren't real. To be more specific, that pigeons are a species that was eradicated by the governments of the world. This starting in the US, where the birds were killed and replaced by robotic avians. These robo-birds then being used to surveil everybody. It is said that during the 1970s and into the 1980s, the CIA eradicated over 12 billion of these feathered unfortunates. The reason they decided to do this was twofold. One, because they were annoyed at the birds pooping on their cars, and two, they wanted to replace the birds with bird-like robots which would provide an opportunity for them to monitor all of their citizens. This idea does seem to be a joke, but as with many conspiracies, the crazier they seem and the more you dig, you end up hitting a nugget of truth at the core. This theory begins with the idea that when the CIA was founded back in 1947, its sole responsibility was to watch over and survey the citizens of the United States of America. This in response to the climate of fear over the rise of communism. In an age before smartphones and computers, they needed to find a way to monitor what people were doing and what they were saying. This is when they hit upon the idea of replacing birds with robots. As somewhat of a bonus, they would also solve the problem of pigeons defecating on their expensive vehicles. The CIA, it is said, proposed the creation of sophisticated robots that would mimic real birds in every way. These artificial avians would also be embedded with the latest in surveillance technology. This tech would enable them to track people on foot, in vehicles, or even spy on them as they sat in their own homes. It is claimed that this program went ahead and was even utilized by President Reagan when he wanted to keep tabs on his opposition. Since this time, the birds that were created have been utilized in many different programs to gain both political advantages and for security reasons. Now, there are a few problems with this idea. First, if they were to eradicate that many birds, what did they do with the bodies? People would surely notice billions of dead birds on the streets. Another problem is the technology of that time. They were nowhere near capable of creating flying mechanical devices small enough to be hidden or to look like a real bird. In a pre-digital era, they didn't have the capabilities to match their desires, something which is very different today, but more on that later. Also, it's far easier to train an actual pigeon to spy. In fact, pigeons were not the only animals employed by the CIA for spying purposes. They used ravens, dolphins, cats and dogs. Inside the CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, you can find some of the gadgets that were used and attached to these animals who would be the CIA's unwitting spies. One of these devices is a camera that could be strapped to a pigeon, so it would seem that the birds are more useful alive than dead. I began this story with the concerns of many that the current pandemic is being used to enforce an ever more totalitarian state, and this is when we may see a modern twist to this old conspiracy. The country that brought COVID into the world, China, is also the country that has recently, or so it is claimed, reactivated this old program. Flocks of robotic birds are flying around the Chinese sky equipped with the latest in surveillance technology. The spy birds were first reported in the South China Morning Post and are said to already be operating across many different provinces. They are said to look like doves, which, as we know, is another word for pigeon. These robotic birds are equipped with the latest in GPS technology, with high-definition cameras and capable of sustained and controlled flight, reporting what they see back to a centralized computer system which can log movements of people and vehicles and even record conversations. This novel approach to surveillance, to me, seems like a distraction. While people are looking up at the obviously fake birds, they are ignoring their phones in the pocket. These are the devices which are already and will only increase to be used to monitor our movement and activities and conversations. The recent deployment in many countries of COVID tracking apps are clear infringements upon a person's right to privacy. Governments are urgently seeking ever more innovative tools to track people under the guise of tackling this crisis. Digital solutions based on geolocation data have become the focus of those in power. What many fail to realize is that these programs have long been written and that governments of the world have been waiting for a suitable situation to deploy them. Most know about China's social scoring system. This is a program in which people are monitored every single day. This through a web of cameras and computers linked to smartphones and other devices. What many are less aware of is that countries like the UK purchased this software from China. As of last year, 18 countries had already deployed software designed by or derived from the Chinese domestic surveillance technology. Zimbabwe, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, Kenya, the United Arab Emirates, and Germany have all deployed these systems. These programs were kept hidden, but the virus provided a perfect opportunity for the public to be made aware of their existence of this monitoring software and to be told that it was being used and that it was being done for their protection, when, in reality, this could be the underpinning technology which will drive a rise in tech-driven authoritarianism across the globe. The tools of this new surveillance-based world will be built directly into the smartphone platforms used by billions of people and provide a single global system controlled by a few. As far-fetched as the idea of spying pigeons seemed, it would seem that the conspiracy theory merely echoed our paranoia of government spying, a prediction of what today is a reality. These systems rely on every means possible to track a person's location, including credit card transactions and surveillance cameras. One tech startup has even suggested using artificial intelligence to monitor people via CCTV. This to check if people are remaining at a safe 6-foot distance apart as they walk the streets. Those who support this Orwellian future point to China and its ability to dramatically flatten the curve of COVID-19 infections as a testament to how an authoritarian government can deploy such technology to contain the virus. This seems to be a bit of a reveal, the old Hegelian dialectic of problem-reaction solution. The global pandemic providing the opportunity for the rollout of this technocracy. It remains to be seen if people will accept this new normal, as it has become known, or if they will stand against tyranny. I fear that as most follow measures imposed by governments, measures that serve no purpose other than to see if people will do the ridiculous and ignore basic science, we see a world ready to accept and welcome such a big brother into their lives. What do you think? Are we seeing the implementation of a global network of control? Will people bow down to the new technocracy? Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, if you like what I do here on the channel, hit that red button, like and share. You can catch the latest by searching We Are If. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.